You guys, I am so over today. You ever had one of those days where you're just over it at like halfway through the day? That was my today. I have this one day like stint going right now, which is kind of nice because you have the ability to, like, if you have a day like I had, you don't have to come back tomorrow. I'm doing an education day this week for my second day of work, and I'm like so happy that I get to recharge and just like not worry about being anywhere or taking care of anybody but myself and my husband like tomorrow. So I've got that to look forward to. This is the moment I've been waiting for all day. So thank you for sharing it with me because this is very special. I think it's just one of those days where I just don't feel my greatest physically. I have just, maybe I didn't rest so well, or maybe it just has to do with like health fluctuating throughout the month or whatever. I'm being subtle, I know. But this entire day from start to finish was, I don't want to say horrible because it could always be worse. That's my little mantra. It could always be worse, but I got handed like a messy situation. And the way that it was messy was my patient had kidney failure, liver failure, anemia, everything. When you look at this patient, you know, like, this guy's not doing good. This guy's not doing good. This is just a long, drawn-out process of death. And that's something that makes me feel sad, for one, is to witness like the patient who wants everything done. He wants to have the treatments. He wants to have everything, but then also there's so many tubes in him. He's been in the hospital for weeks. And it's just sad because you know that he's not truly living the way that a human should be living. So that part really makes me sad whenever I reflect on that. And this patient was from another place. They were non-English speaking. They were from another place in the world. And I think that sometimes that has to do with it. I mean, maybe people from the United States have that mentality too, but I feel like a lot of other countries, they do tend to have that, like, we're gonna hang on, we're gonna do all the things up until the end. And I'd like to maybe understand why that is. But I think for me and what I see on a day-to-day basis, that was very sad for me, for one. So there's that. And I was trying to help him. Like, there was like a big mess going on. He had this drain to his abdomen because when you have liver failure, a lot of times fluid will collect in your abdomen and it like leaks out into basically your belly, and you get this big pot belly, and it's like fluid in there. And so when you have that, it's called ascites. And he's already been what we call tapped, where you poke like a needle in and drain the fluid out. And many patients that get that procedure, they have to get it over and over again because their body that's just almost like a therapy. So this particular guy, he had a drain that was left in to allow the fluid to drain out. Yesterday, the drain started to leak around the drain site, so where it goes into the skin. And the patient was on med-surg yesterday, so the nurse called the doctor and was letting them know that there was a lot of drainage coming out. Come to find out this morning, this drain was clamped, but it should not have been clamped. So I'm not really sure what happened throughout the whole process, why it ended up getting clamped, because for me, I feel like you would think like that would just make everything back up in the abdomen, which is basically what happened. So the drain was like leaking around, and we had to put like a device on that we usually put over a urostomy to kind of collect all the drainage out. And it was really yucky. It was like a lot of drainage, like a lot. Like I got almost a 2-liter bottle of, well, I was gonna compare it to a 2-liter soda, but I'm sure you guys don't want to think that, because I don't even want to think that. It's gross, I guess. In a way, it's almost like, to me, it feels a little bit more gross than like urine. I think it's just because it's like a thicker type of fluid. Okay, I'll stop. You guys don't want to hear this. Sorry. My charge, I absolutely love working with. She like helps when something is really not going well. She just like jumps in and like helps. And I feel like she's like future me, because I learned so much from her that I'm going to become her one day. And she's somebody I absolutely love working with, because she's always like, she never makes me feel inferior for asking a question or for not knowing something the way that maybe some of the other new, like more experienced ICU nurses know things. No, she will always just help. Like, she anticipates my needs. I feel like she's basically my nurse when I'm at work. I just made that connection. She's the one that takes care of me, and then I take care of the patients, and sometimes she takes care of both of us. So she helped me fix that problem, and I made sure to like say thank you so much, because after we fixed that, the patient was so relaxed. He let us take care of him. Like, he was really restless and like trying to cover his whole body with like blankets. He doesn't speak English. We have to call another family member because his wife doesn't speak English either. So it was this whole thing of like not being able to communicate very well, and it's hard. So yeah, that whole thing. And then his blood pressure was a problem. We had to get new lines because his peripheral IVs were not the long-term solution for needing more blood pressure medication. So we got that. Lots of diabetes, lots of blood sugar, lots of insulin, lots of just fixing things that kept going wrong. And the biggest problem of today was he also had a dialysis catheter in his chest that wasn't working, and the IR doctor who was going to replace it, he didn't want to do that until we flushed it with a clot dissolver to make sure that it was actually not working before he wanted to redo it. So that basically bumped him to the point where they didn't do him that day, today. And it was like a incessant stream of phone calls all day back and forth between radiology and myself. And that took like, I swear, probably like at least an hour of my time today. And it's just so frustrating. I think everyone kind of had a weird day, but I think at the end of the day, I'm leaving feeling happy that it's over. And sometimes it's just the way it goes some days. One of the nurses got an admission late in the shift, and she was like, I guess was having trouble getting orders for the patient, and was like really trying hard to get orders, and the doctor was basically telling her to be patient and wait for orders, but the patient's an ICU patient. It's been like almost 2 hours, and we were like, this isn't good. And I felt so bad for her, because the doctor was like, I want to know your name, like who the nurse was that was trying to get orders. And I'm like, it shouldn't really be like this. Like, we should not be having to like try to fight for ourselves that we needed orders and like defend ourselves. Like, it's not about that. It's about the patient getting what they need in a timely manner. So that really bothered me. I didn't really know what to think about that. I did hear of something really hilarious today for the first time ever, and it was something called tea and toast syndrome. tea and toast syndrome. Do you know what tea and toast syndrome is? I read that in the doctor's note and I got so entertained by it that I started to like ask everyone, have you heard of tea and toast syndrome? Because the doctor did a slash and then wrote severely malnourished from lack of eating. Yeah. Pretty cute. I thought that was cute. And then we Googled it to make sure it was a real thing because none of us had ever heard of it. A lot of us have been nurses for like over a decade and we're like, what is tea and toast syndrome? But really what it is, it's like a cute way to describe how elderly people sometimes start to eat as they get older and they can't really, they lose interest in eating, they lose their appetite, and then they end up like just with low appetite and they eat tea and toast and that's all they eat. And they lose all this weight and they start to break down. Their body breaks down. So don't y'all be getting tea and toast syndrome. That's the craziest way to describe malnutrition. I want to know, have you heard of this before? Drop in a comment if you've heard of this syndrome before. Or like, tell me, let's make this even better. Tell me if you have seen, like, you know, there's certain conditions and then there's like nicknames for them, like tea and toast syndrome for malnutrition. Let me know which ones you've heard that really like were like, I've never heard of it said like that before. What is that? Anyway. I want to know how your day was. I'm tired of talking about my day. Guys, I think that's about it for me. I am ready to eat some dinner and wind down. I pray you guys are doing super well, and I'll see you guys in the next one, okay? Bye.